Hey, what is up guys? Guitar Rock here, welcome back to another Brown Dust video. Alright, so today we're gonna check out basically the hot mercenaries for the warrior category. So it's kind of cool. I would like to check out each individual category, but for this video we are going to cover just the warriors, or else the video will be like 3 hours long or something. Alright, so I think it will be kind of cool to check it out, and maybe you guys can compare this with the server you're on. I'm on Asia server, in case you guys are wondering. Like, plenty of you guys have been asking me that question. So yeah, I'm on Asia server. So I think Asia, Global and EU, we will have sort of a very similar kind of rankings. Maybe like a little bit different here and there, but I don't know, it is kind of cool to see. I know Japan has a slightly different meta overall. Korean definitely, they will have an entire different roster because they already have like mercenaries updated all the way to +15. So yeah, let's check it out. Hot Merc, we're gonna have a look at them individually. This is going to be a long video. So strap in, grab your popcorn. Alright, get ready for an extremely long video. Okay, so number 1, warrior currently in Asia server, Wilhelmina. I mean, that's to be expected, right? Like, Wilhelmina is just so good. Very, like, she's insanely good to deal with Lilian. She's insanely good to deal with Lucius. Insanely good to deal with just a whole lot of units. But I can see players, the only players that don't really need a Wilhelmina in their team is perhaps players with Alec or Seto. And there's not many of those because, like you see, majority of players go for Velfern, which is why Velfern is at the top of the charts. So in terms of warriors, Wilhelmina is always going to be number 1. So Foxy is at close second at 50%. Alright, so Wilhelmina and Foxy, they are very close, 57, 50%. Foxy is really good because she counters lots of heroes as well. Multi-hit, being a multi-hit means she's good against Lucius, which is annoying to deal with. But Foxy is not without her flaws, because Foxy does not have any type of immunity. Generally, you want to be careful of what kind of supporters that you can pair her with, right? The problem with Foxy is she's not immune to debuff like Wilhelmina is. Wilhelmina's immunity debuff is part of the reason why she's number 1. If Wilhelmina is like weak against stats weakening or something, she won't be number 1. I can guarantee that for sure. So Foxy, the reason why she has dropped is because of Ser, right? Ser is going to always be around, and Foxy is like sort of weak against Ser, unfortunately, because of stats weakening. Not just Ser in particular, lots of defensive, basically strong defensive units have stats weakening, which is just extremely annoying to fight against those curse counter. Livia is one of those, Edwin is one of those, Leklis, there's just plenty of them. So Foxy really needs Ceres. If you don't have Ceres, or you will need Veronia at least. Veronia gives debuff immunity, basically covers all the area. If you only give Ceres, Foxy is still prone to attack interference and everything else. So it's kind of risky, you know, for you to use Foxy without the proper supporters. But she's very solid, still very strong, still a very solid unit to have. So Foxy is an extremely unique one for sure. She has this counter skill as well. So wait, is this the one? No, it's this one right here. So reflective counter, so basically deals additional damage to enemy who attacks her. So with proper buffs, she can definitely at least take down one enemy's warriors. And if you like double or even triple buff her, she can even take down Ser occasionally, or even like those tanky. I've seen Foxy basically take down Aaron before. Aaron hits Foxy and just die to that counter, which is insane, right? So definitely a +1 right there, despite her having only 2 range at +9, I believe. Yeah, at +9 she gets the additional range, and with the reflective counter as well, so that means she will always be able to hit 3 units total. So 1 from the reflective counter and 2 units from basically her own basic attack. So that's kind of cool. Foxy, definitely. I think she's going to stay at number 2 for a long time. Perhaps the only warrior that can overtake her right now is maybe Anastasia, but that's going to be a while. Alright, number 3 we have Sigmund. So Sigmund is just, he has fallen off a lot. The reason is because, I don't know, there's just much better warriors right now, and Sigmund needs investment. If you are a new player, probably it's not such a smart idea to invest in Sigmund because Anastasia and Foxy is around, and if you have been playing for a while, chances are that you notice that Sigmund's damage is not as high as Foxy and Anastasia. So that's because Sigmund just deals damage based on his remaining HP rate, and that's about it. There's additional damage, of course. Sigmund does get countered a lot, dies to Aaron. He doesn't get cursed, which is fortunate. He does have the immunity to debuff, so that helps him a little bit. Other than that, he's really tanky. He has this barrier as his skill, the incoming damage minus 50%, and that's the only like strength that a Sigmund can have. Like if you decide to go for him against a Foxy or Anastasia, that he's slightly tankier. But once you climb in the arena ranks, it doesn't really matter because, you know, incoming damage minus 50%, that might not help you much because most of the players in the high ranks, they will have good runes, they will have good supporters at plus 10, so the damage is going to be consistent enough to one-shot your Sigmund anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You might as well go for Foxy because you can get the reflective counter. So that's the mindset that's going on to most players, and in terms of investment, Foxy is better. Plus 9 you get 2 range, Sigmund needs plus 10, which is rather unfortunate. He's still good, don't get me wrong. If you already have a plus 10, plus 8, 9, and you're very close to that plus 10 range, you can still build him. But if you're new, probably you want to stay off from Sigmund for a bit because there's better warriors out there. Alright, so next we have Vows. Alright, so Vows, very unique. She is one of the few warriors that can one-shot energy guard heroes. Alright, I'm talking about Memonair and Velfen at plus 10. If you are willing to invest skill levels into Vows, she's going to be really strong. So Vows, her existence changes the meta a lot. Like people used to go for Beliaf because she doesn't have any counter, but Vows completely counters Beliaf because she doesn't die to skeletons. So right here, she has this Death Guard which only activates before she attacks for 2 turns, right? So it's a very cool skill. So this prevents her from dying to bombs, to explosion, not just Beliaf, basically Zachon, or even Foxy and Jin, which is why she's like pretty much sought after by a lot of players, and she doesn't need much investment compared to all the other Octos. Vows at plus 0 to plus 3 is good enough most of the time to one-hit KO a bunch of units. She does have the Nullifier, removes already applied buff skill type. Her only main weakness is she can be cursed, similar to Foxy. Whatever Foxy is weak to, she is also weak to. So basically attack interference, stats weakening, and DOT as well. So a lot of people try to put Acha all the way at the back, Sloan as well, to counter Vows. So very good counter. The workaround for that, you can either use Cerubia or you can use Veronia to make sure that your Vows is immune to debuff. So yeah, Vows is going to continue climbing. I do believe that Vows will be like, will stay in top 3 or at least top 5 for a very long time. Alright, so number 5, moving on, we have Anastasia. So you can clearly tell right here, Anastasia is climbing the ranks slowly but surely. Like 2 weeks ago, she's at 15% usage rate. Last week, 19.2%, and this week, 22.6%. I'm seeing this trend right here that she's going to continue to climb, and she's definitely going to surpass Sigmund, and I believe she will surpass Foxy as well. But I don't think she will surpass Wilhelmina. I could be wrong. Most people would prefer to go for Wilhelmina instead. Anastasia is the reason why like Foxy and Sigmund is not being used as much anymore, because now you have another option, a good warrior with good range at below plus 9 plus 10. Like Foxy, you get the bonus range at plus 9, Sigmund, you get the bonus range at plus 10, Anastasia, you get this insane range at plus 0. So this means like you can use her from the start, right? She doesn't need to be invested as much. Obviously you want to get to +6 at least, so that's where she gets the bonus advanced permanent fatal fury right here. And she's also stats weakening immune, which means she won't be affected by curse, so she can't be affected by Livia or Ser or whoever that have those curse counter. So definitely one of the best units you can obtain right now in terms of warriors. So yeah, she can definitely one-shot a lot of heroes with proper buffs. Her biggest weakness is probably charm, right? So since when you fight Anastasia, and it's really scary to fight against an Anastasia because you know she has insane range, but that means that whenever she's charmed, that can backfire on you. I've seen a lot of players using Anastasia and it hits my ass mode, and moments later she ends up killing her own team or something along those lines, right? So charm, if you have Addin, stigma, and Anastasia can get stigmatized as well, so she's not immune to debuff, she's only immune to stats weakening skill. So that can be really scary. So Anastasia, very good on your own team, but whenever she gets charmed, she's gonna start, she hits really hard, right? She's gonna start hitting hard at your own team. So you gotta be cautious. If you want to use her, like, my best advice is to have something like, you know, I think Venaka is probably your best bet in terms of attack interference removal. That's about it that I can think of. If not, Veronia, perhaps still debuff immunity. But other than that, she's a very annoying warrior to deal with, and she's just an overall solid choice for sure. So this skill range kind of covers a huge area, which means she is also weak to bombs like Zachon and especially Beliaf team. Definitely Beliaf is a direct counter to Anastasia, so if you're running Beliaf, it's good because you cover a huge range for a Beliaf +3. So whoever who is converted to a skeleton, Anastasia hits that skeleton, she's going to die. She's still not completely like broken or anything, she still dies easily to counter Foxy, Jin, or even like bombs that are produced from Beliaf. So which is why in Guild Wars, if you want to counter Anastasia, just put a Zachon or something, like it's just an easy counter. So I don't think she's as annoying as Vows to deal with on certain scenarios. Definitely in Guild Wars and perhaps in the Underground Arena, it's quite easy to counter her. You can just place Cecilia on the skip tile, or you can just place a bomb on a skip tile to try and counter her if you can see her moving first. But she's still a very solid warrior. Expect her to continue to climb for the next coming months. Okay, so we pretty much covered the top 5. What about the next 5, which is below the top 5? Let's have a look. Okay, currently at number 6, we have Jin. Jin is an awesome hero. Like, if I did not build my Gwen, I would have gone for him for sure. He's just such an insane monster. Okay, so Jin, where do I begin, right? Single target. Lots of players see Jin as a single target hero. I don't see him as a single target hero. I see him as a dual target hero for a couple of reasons. He's always going to be able to one-shot anyone with his single target skill because he's just so strong. Critical bash, deals insane damage, and he's always going to be able to one-shot anyone with this reflective counter skill. Like, trust me, my Archon with like 13,000 HP, my Seer with 10,000 HP, hit a Jin, they always die. They always die. And the good thing about Jin is he doesn't need much buffs compared to Foxy and something like an Anastasia. Those units will need at least 2 buffs, but Jin with 1 buff, he can actually survive pretty well. So he's very annoying to deal with, especially Jin plus Beliaf. That used to be one of the most cancerous combo around. Basically, Jin will be able to counter 1 unit, and when Jin dies, there's 1 more bomb taking Jin's place, and you know, you just have to deal with that bomb afterwards. So it's just an extremely annoying strategy to try to fight against, especially if you don't have Vows. She's a gacha octo, so don't expect everyone to have her. But he's a very solid one for sure. I can see why he's currently top 6. I'm quite surprised that he's only 6th place. I was expecting him to be as high as Foxy. Right? The reason why, I guess most players, this is just this is not me, but I think most players, when they look at building a hero or a mercenary unit, what they look at is the range. And Jin's 1 tile range is probably the reason why he's not being built as much compared to Foxy or Sigmund or Anastasia. But he's also stats weakening immune, so that is cool. Definitely something to consider. So if you want to use Jin, very strong. He's strong in the campaign as well, and occasionally in PvE, if you want to go for John and Jin combo, it can be pretty deadly, especially with the all difficulty lowered on all these stages in the campaign modes. So Jin is a viable option if you want a strong warrior. Alright, on the 7th place we have Addin. So Addin, he fits pretty much in the top 10 for sure. He's one of the few mercenaries that can actually one-shot a Mammonair plus 10 without any difficulty. So Addin, definitely very scary. Yeah, he's just an overall unit. I don't think there's much to talk about him. He's just very good. He's one of the best warriors still, but definitely he's competing with all of the other warriors that are available now. Being available only in the 4000 gacha mileage or something kind of makes it hard to recommend an Addin right now. He used to be really strong. Like when I first started the game, Addin is like, oh, everybody's dream warrior. But now, I don't know, there's just plenty of other good warriors available. But Addin is still a solid one. If you have him, plus 10 him, he's the only warrior unit. Like you don't really need anyone else. The reason why he's so low because of the accessibility. It's hard to obtain him, you need the mileage, and you have to gamble. I believe it's a 10% chance for you to get Addin, and most people would prefer not to gamble and go for something else. You know, I've gambled like 3 to 4 times and I've never gotten him. So it's kind of absurd that the rate, I don't know, 10% is a little bit low. I wish they would increase it to like 20%. It makes more sense, like at least 5 times, like 1/5 of a chance of you to get him. But definitely if you want to gamble for Addin, go for it. He's pretty strong. Only if you have been playing the game for a while though. If you're new, probably not such a good idea to gamble for an Addin, especially right now. Alright, number 8 we have Angelica. So Angelica has fallen off but still being used quite often. The reason is Asia server. We have lots of Angelica users from the beginning. This was before the Dominus Octo was introduced, and back then Angelica is one of the best warriors you can have besides Alec. Alright, so Angelica can pretty much one-shot anything. So if you don't have anything that can deal with Aaron, Angelica is probably your best, like I would say she's the best warrior to counter Aaron right now. Like I'm talking about warriors, right? If you look at all of these lists, Wilhelmina dies to Aaron. Foxy, maybe she can counter Aaron, I don't know, like I'm not sure what's the interaction. I know Foxy doesn't die to Aaron's counter, but I don't think she can kill an Aaron consistently unless you triple buff her. Sigmund definitely dies to Aaron. Vows, yeah, Vows is a direct counter to Aaron, but you can only obtain Vows through Gacha Octo, so I'm not sure if I want to count that, and she's a legendary right here, talking about pure 5 stars. Anastasia dies to Aaron, Jin dies to Aaron, Addin dies to Aaron. The only warrior that doesn't die to Aaron right here is probably Angelica, and Angelica definitely number 8. Definitely counter lots of units with the buff prohibition. Like this skill is still pretty broken. 18 turns, that's a pretty long time. Like you can counter Seer as well. I used to use Angelica just to one-shot most Seers, if not basically just prohibits them from activating their taunt again. But Angelica is a fun one to use for sure. I love her attack animation. I hope they will try to improve her. She has this curse barrier or some sort. This is very interesting. If you make her tanky enough, she can basically curse the enemies, and I know the curse it goes up to incredible amount of stats. Let me check it right here. At +2, 65%. So that is pretty cool actually. 65%. Anyone that's not immune to stats weakening is gonna get affected easily, and she's immune to debuff as well. So yeah, her combination of skills definitely pretty broken. The only thing that's not really broken about her is her range. She hits the most front and only 1 tile range, which is such a turn off, which is why most players has started to like move over to other units like Anastasia at +9. She's able to hit 5 in a cross tile. which is like way better, right? So why would you not go for Anastasia? Why would you invest in an Angelica? And besides, there's just plenty of other legendaries to invest into right now. Okay, so next we have Leto. So Leto is our first 4-star unit right here. Alright, so at number 9, so usage rate is 5.8%. So probably if you are in global or EU server, you're gonna see Leto has a higher usage rate right there. But here in Asia server, most players have started moving away from Leto into 5-star warriors because, you know, just the power spike difference. But don't get me wrong, Leto is still very strong. It's just that his range, you know, you only get to hit one single target unit. And the problem is most players in Asia server, when we first started, Leto wasn't that good yet. After the rework, he gets extremely strong with the Ignore Taunt. But before the rework, most players went for Yunrang. So I think lots of players were invested in Yunrang, so that could be a reason why most players are not that interested in building a Leto. But having the stun, having the ultimate strike, and yeah, just a bunch of stuff. The problem with Leto, I think he suffers the same thing as Foxy. Ignore Taunt is definitely a good skill to have, for sure. But Leto is not immune to like stats weakening, attack interference, or DOT. So that's his biggest weakness. So to counter Leto, you can basically use the same method to counter Vows. You can use like a Diomaron, Acha, or a Sloan all the way at the rare just to counter Letos. And I think the global the global usage rate of Leto is definitely higher than 50%. I could be wrong. Let me know if you guys are in global server and EU server as well. I'm curious, like, what's the Leto usage rate on your server? It's like 5.8% right here, which is, I guess, it's pretty alright. But yeah, Leto has fallen off. If you're new, sure, definitely build him. But if you have been playing the game for a while, definitely you want to move on to better warriors like Foxy, Wilhelmina, Anastasia. If you have Vows, there's no way that you would be using Leto anymore because Vows is just like a better unit. Leto, yes, they both die to DOT, but Vows does not die to bombs, right? Leto still dies to bomb, Leto dies to counter. If there's a Jin at the back, Leto dies to Jin. If there's a Foxy, Leto dies to her. Reflective counter. So Vows does not die to those, and yeah, it's just overall makes sense for players to move on to Vows. But yeah, Leto is pretty broken actually for a 4-star unit. I'm surprised that he's able to make it this high in the top 10 range. Like just 1 week ago, 7.8%, now it's 5.8. Dropped by 2%. What is happening? The problem with Leto is he's quite weak to curse as well. So also Lilian is a thing at the far rare just to counter Leto and Vows. So they are both the only few rare hitters, you know, so you have to be careful. Lilian is always going to be placed at the rare just to protect against these two units. Like, it's an extremely smart move if you have a Lilian or Archon, just place them all the way at the back and basically solve, I wouldn't say majority of your problem, but at least like 25% of the warriors that you think will hit first, right? Okay, so moving on to number 10, we have Hanya. Right now, Hanya is at number 10, but I guarantee you, at least 3 to 4 months from now, Hanya is going to overtake Leto. The reason why Hanya is so low is because most players didn't have much time to build for him, but Hanya is definitely just a better Leto. Like, there's no arguing right there. Hitting the ability to hit 3, but you need him to be at least +9 to get the bonus range. So that's the problem. And investment wise, it's just a lot of investment needed in Hanya to get him to +9. Otherwise, I don't think there's a reason for you to use Hanya at +3 or something. You might as well build an Yunrang. Yunrang should be better for that particular reason. So Hanya is definitely a very unique one, very strong and unique warrior. Okay, number 11 we have Alec. I'm quite surprised Alec is like this far down. But I guess I'm not that surprised. People don't really understand his skills as much, and being a legendary, those who wants to go for Alec, they are probably going to go for Alec. and those who like are deciding which legendary to get, they're probably going to pick between Velfen or Mamonair. So Alec, Seto, they're going to fall off under the radar for majority of the players. That's just how it is. But that doesn't mean Alec is weak. Just because he's at number 11 does not mean that Alec is bad. He's actually really good. In fact, I think Alec is better than Angelica and Addin on certain scenarios, because Alec has similar range to Addin, but Addin gets stuck if there's like a Lilian or Archon, but Alec does not. So that is something to keep in mind. So Ludia is not yet a thing right here in Asia server, but after, I think, let's give it a couple of months, Ludia is quite a recent unit. I think 3 to 4 months from now, we're gonna see Alec starting to climb for sure. There's a couple of times for me where I do actually kind of was contemplating on trying to recruit Alec as well, but decided not to, just save my ancient coins and build my current legendary. But Alec is definitely a fun one for sure. Fixed damage, he is, let's see, the only fixed damage right here on the list up to top 10, 11. Alright, so Alec, for the warrior wise, a very solid unit to have. Okay, number 12 we have Zachon. Okay, so Zachon is one of the most commonly used warriors. Back then in the days, Zachon is one of the few units to take care of Sigmunds, because Sigmund is very tanky, especially Sigmund with at least +2 onwards. He gets this barrier that reduces incoming damage by 50%. So that means Sigmund is always going to go for shield runes as well, because of this skill right here. Defense will increase the attack and crit rate, so the more defense a Sigmund has, the more crit rate and attack he will have. So back then in the days, that this was before the Octos, I believe, before the second batch of Octos, players tend to use Zachon to counter Sigmund and Foxy, basically just placing them in the skip, because Sigmund and Foxy is like the only like good prominent warriors back then. That was before Vows, that was before Anastasia. So placing Zachon in the skip tile just to get rid of Sigmund, just to get rid of Foxy, because Zachon, in case you guys did not know, just want to stress that out, Zachon deals fixed damage. Yeah, Zachon deals fixed damage. There's not many 4-star that can deal fixed damage, let alone 5 stars, right? 5 stars, there are a few. 4 stars, there are a few as well, but in terms of warriors, not that many. There's just not that many. Alright, so Zachon is one of the few that can actually deal fixed damage as a reflective counter, in a reflective counter form. So he has taunt, very annoying to have, useful and annoying at the same time. But overall, Zachon, most of the time, any warrior with around 6000 HP, Zachon with good assault runes should be able to one-hit KO them, no problem. And if you look at this list right here, 11 warriors right here. Wilhelmina, Foxy, Sigmund, Vows, Anastasia, Jean, Addin, Angelica, Leto, Hanya, and Alec. All of them have below 6k HP. Like, I'm talking about their prominent build, right? Their most used setup. Some players try to go like Vital Runes on Sigmund just to counter that. Some players try to go Vital Runes on Addin as well. I've seen that a couple of times in Guild Wars, just to throw off players with that. But if you look at all of these warriors right here, they are all weak to Zachon. They all, by default, they die to Zachon, just whether you like it or not. Zakon's fixed damage is just insane. Maybe except for her, since Vows does not die to anything because of her Death Gut. But otherwise, looking at this list right here, Zachon is number 12, so that makes the most sense. You want to counter the other warriors? Use Zachon, just get rid of them, so you don't have to deal with them later on. So some players go that route instead of trying to like build a proper offensive team. They go for an offensive counter team, if that makes sense. So Zachon and Beliaf does not work, unfortunately. If you guys did not check out my latest Guild Wars, yeah, because of Zakon's skill right here, if you click on this skill, it's clearly stated that he cannot receive buff skill type except immunity. So if you want your Zachon to be strong, just give him 2 assault runes, the best assault runes you can get, the percentage form, so that he will be able to deal fixed damage. I don't know, my Zachon has constantly been one hit KO any warriors which is below 6.2k HP, and not many warriors can reach that high amount of HP. Maybe Angelica with vital runes, maybe Sigmund with vital runes, but that's about it. Okay, so moving on to number 13, we have Seto at 3%. Alright, so Seto and Alec, they are pretty close, just 1% difference. And if Alec is that low, Seto is bound to be lower, and we all know why. When players pick a legendary, when players pick a mercenary unit to try to invest in, the first thing they look into is this thing right here, the range. Seto only hits 1 unit on the skip tile. So players try to think, lots of players, they try to think this way. Alright, so why do I want to recruit Seto? Foxy is better, Sigmund is better, Anastasia is better. Alright, so that's just how most beginner, most new players look at things. But after a while, after they pick Velfen and after they pick Memone, then they try to understand, oh, Seto has to have 1 tile range or else he'll be broken because it's a fixed damage, right? It's a fixed damage. If you give Seto 2 tiles, Foxy and Sigmund would drop down all the way. So there's a reason why Seto has to have 1 tile. And Seto, like lots of players, I did mention this earlier based on how I view Jin, you know. I don't really look Seto as just a single target unit hitter. I look at him as 2 target hitter because he should be able to kill 1 from his own damage and 1 more from counter, because he does have uniquely a fixed additional damage counter. So this is really interesting. Fixed additional damage means that it doesn't deal much, it does not deal extremely high because it cannot crit, it cannot increasing crit rate and crit damage does not increase these abilities output damage, but it goes through 100% defense unit, so something to keep in mind. So if Archon decides to hit a Seto, boom, that counter, it's gonna be so painful. Same goes for Ludia. Ludia does to Seto anyway, so what am I talking about? Same goes to, who else has 100% defense? I can't think of anyone right now, but yeah, there's quite a number of players. But I believe Seto is going to be more prominent once Dalvi plus 15 kicks in, because Dalvi is one of the few units that have the 100% defense, and Seto is just built to counter Dalvi, attack interference immunity as well. So Seto cannot be charmed, cannot be silenced, cannot be stunned, but he is affected by stats weakening though, so that is something to keep in mind. Stats weakening is probably his biggest weakness, so just pair him with Ceres and you should be fine. So definitely Seto still one of the better picks, I think, in terms of the legends. It's quite hard to recommend someone to go for Seto if they are new over Velfen or Mamonair, but I think it could work, you know, if you have like good mages all around already to cover that Velfen's area and good tank to cover that Mamonair's role, and you need good warriors, Seto just fits that for you. Like, I don't see why not, right? Alright, we're going down the rabbit hole now. Gwen, number 14, my favorite. Alright, so Gwen, number 14. Why though? Why players don't like Gwen? I have no idea why. I guess it's just how people usually recommend. I think Gwen is going to fall off, but I'm surprised he's climbing a little bit. 2.4 to 2.8% usage rate. I'm surprised Gwen is climbing because Anastasia is there, so Gwen might have lost his like uniqueness. What makes Gwen unique is the range, that's about it. And he does hit pretty hard if the opponent has some stats enhancement skill type, so he's going to be able to hit them really hard. I like him a lot. He's still, in my opinion, one of the best warriors. It's just a bummer that he's not even in the top 10. But stats weakening immunity, so that is something that Gwen has that Foxy does not have. So which is why Gwen is really good in the meta right now, just to counter the top meta heroes, Livia, who else? Leclis, Addin, like those annoying ones with the curse counter. So Gwen can get rid of them without needing Ceres. So if I use Gwen, I don't have to rely on Ceres being on my team. But if I decide to use someone else that does not have stats weakening immunity, I might have to use Ceres. So that is, you know, you have to adjust your warriors according to the supporters and things like that, which is why I prefer Gwen. It gives you the flexibility to switch around your supports to whomever, you know. Attack interference, I'm always going to have Venaka around, so pretty much got that area covered. DOT, I don't really care about that as much because nobody usually plays their DOT units like Sloan or Acha or Diomeron in the front. Usually they place them far rare, so I'm pretty safe there. So Gwen is a pretty solid warrior in the meta right now. Definitely my favorite right now. Oh boy, this is a long list, right? Alright, so number 15, we have Ileana. Alright, so I'm not too familiar with her, but I do think that she can have a much higher output damage compared to a Christina. She does have the insane range as well, which allows her to be placed anywhere at +3. Alright, she gets it pretty early on. So yeah, this particular skill I believe is the same as Christina's one. It depends on the enemy's HP loss rate times attack times 200% additional damage. So this will take place after normal attack. The calculation will be calculated right after. So if you're talking about output damage wise, Ileana is going to be higher than Christina. Like there's no argument right there. Alright, so for Christina, she is at number 16, but she has climbed 4 places in this week for whatever reason. She's really good. The enemy's HP loss rate is also 300%. Yep, it's the exact same one, exact same skill. The only exception is she's a multi-hit, so she hits 2 times and she has the DOT as well. So DOT, this is really cool actually, because if the enemy does not die from her raw damage, they usually will still die from DOT. And there are not many DOT immune warriors out there, right? So it's either debuff immunity, stats weakening immunity. You don't see much DOT immunity. Attack interference immunity on Alec and Seto, but you don't see much warriors with DOT immunity. So Christina, she can one-shot like a number of warriors, defenders, like tanky ones. It's really awesome. But her only weakness is she needs multiple buff. You can't rely just having one buff on her. You need to at least double or triple buff her. So that's a little bit of an investment in terms of amount of buffs. Her passion skill is pretty strong as well. So this allows her to basically she's like a mini Vows. Before Vows, I always use her to just take care of bombs. Occasionally, she can take care of Chalkers easily. Zachon, not so much because fixed damage. But ideally, this skill usually helps her to be to survive against reflective counter units. I'm talking about not just the bombs, Foxy and Jin occasionally as well, which is pretty impressive. 65% reducing in incoming damage, but I just reduced. It will increase a little bit more. 65% just does not cut it most of the time. Maybe 80% would have been better. So Vows is completely immune. Death Guard right there. So why not give Christina something better than 65%? I don't know. Like, I don't think that will make her too broken because we already have Vows. But hopefully, I'm really excited. I know that she's not that famous, but once the +15 comes, I'm going to start using her again, I hope. But for now, her biggest weakness is just like Foxy. She does not have immunity to anything. She's not immune to attack interference, not immune to DOT, and the worst one is she's not immune to stats weakening. So which is why I have removed her from my team, because I decided to remove Ceres. I'm constantly removing or adding in Ceres, so it's kind of hard to make her stay on my team. Every time I decide to take out Ceres, then I have to perhaps move Veronia in or something. I don't know, it's just quite finicky to use her. Okay, at number 17 we have Gunther. So this is to be expected. Gunther is one of the best warriors for beginners. If you have Gunther, obtain him from fusion. Like by default, everyone should have Ino. The only one that you have to worry about is the other 3 fusion mercenaries to fuse for Gunther. You can fuse Leto easily. So yeah, Gunther is definitely always going to be top 20. So the reason why Gunther is not like all the way top on the list is because most players don't think they need to invest skill books in Gunther. And which is true, Gunther is very strong and perhaps one of the strongest warriors in this list at +0. Like, I'm not even kidding, like no one in this list is like strong at +0. Maybe Alec, yeah, Alec is good at +0, Alec and Seto, but they are both legendaries. If you're talking about 5-star units, Gunther is probably the best one on this list at +0. But with skill books, most players would prefer to lean towards the other warriors. And in the meta right now, I guess Gunther is just, I mean, he's alright with that range. Occasionally, especially if you're fighting against 2-row formation and players usually leave the middle row empty. So Gunther usually only hits 1 unit, which is why he's not that sought after compared to all the other warriors. Alright, moving on to number 18, we have Barbara. So she's currently at number 18, but once the +15 patch comes, she's gonna climb all the way high up, high up to like top 10 for sure. But for now, number 18 is, I guess this is where she fits. She's really solid. I think she counters lots of reflective counter heroes. If you go for 1 fatal and 1 rage, ideally she's going to one-shot most of the tanky units with reflective counter on. But the problem is she can be inconsistent at times. She relies on opponent having the reflective counter skill because of this skill right here. So if the enemy does not have reflective counter, she just deals subpar damage. So that's the main weakness that she has. Alright, number 19, we have Dalvi. So Dalvi is one of the few 5 stars that's able to deal fixed damage, being a warrior, so that's cool. But it's quite hard to use her because of the fox transformation thing. Basically, he will transform into 8 turns of these, and then he will go to a 9-tailed fox 12 turns, and then go back to the 8 turns. So basically, he will swap between the 2 different moods. So she's a very unique one, similar to... I don't think there's any warriors that's similar to Dalvi. She has 2 different modes that can take place. So you need to be good at counting. She's very usable in the underground arena to counter lots of heroes if you can calculate everything correctly. This particular skill and agility increase. And of course there's defense. So Dalvi currently at 19th, but for sure after the patch of +15 comes, Dalvi is going to skyrocket in ranks for sure. Okay, so let's go on to the last one, number 20. Alright, so we're going to check out only up to 20. We have Wego. Alright, so Wego, I have no idea why he's top 20. The only logical reason I can think of is because Wego is a cheap one. Basically, most players, if you want to build like a strong warrior in terms of 3 stars, I would say Wego is perhaps one of the best. If you're looking for output damage, if you guys are not sure, Wego has one of the highest attack of any 3 star. His base attack is 3849, which is huge. That's an insane amount. So the cross style formation is pretty good as well. So he's almost always going to one-hit whoever who is in the front, with the exception of Lucius, Arkan, and Lilian. So Wego, like, just a good investment, I guess. Immune to debuff. Okay. I don't know why Wego needs immune to debuff. I've never noticed that actually. I never noticed that Wego has immune to debuff. He dies to almost anything though. So why does he need that? I have no idea. Wego dies to almost anything. The HP is extremely low unless you go for Vital Runes. But that doesn't make sense because, you know, you might as well not use him if you want to go for Vital Runes. Such a waste to go on Vital Runes for him. The damage is so high. Wego is also used a lot in the world boss as well. Because of this skill, you're able to stack at +9, you can get the stats weakening up. So for something like the Arc Star, building Wiggle is a good investment. So he's good in campaign, he's good in world boss, so I'm guessing that's why players just use him anyway, because they already have him. They already built him for the purpose of investing in those two other game modes. Might as well just use him in PvP, why not, right? That's my take on Wiggle. Alright guys, that's it for the video. So just showing you guys what's the top warriors used in the Asia server right now. Top 20. So if you want to look at what's below 20, basically we have Dr. Morgan, we have Viola, Victor, Yunrang, Rogan, Lian, Yuri, and Octavia. Alright, so all the way to 28. So yeah, interestingly enough, let me know what you guys think of these warriors currently. Which one is your favorite? If you are from the global and EU, I'm pretty sure it's going to have like similar rankings, maybe with the exception of Leto. The difference is going to be Leto and Angelica, I believe. Those two might be far off, but the rest of the I'm pretty sure the rest of the rankings in terms of usage in percentage is going to be quite similar. Okay, so I'm going to end the video here. It's a rather long one. Let me know what you guys think of this video. I'm not sure if I'm going to cover everything else, but if you guys are interested, I'm willing to, you know, cover the defender, magician, and supporters as well. Those will be interesting, but I don't think I'll be able to cover them right here in this video, because I think this video is pretty long already. I've been talking for like half an hour. Maybe I'll edit it a little bit to make it shorter, but damn, it's a long video for sure. Okay, so if you haven't already, subscribe, give this video a like, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.